Welcome to your March 2023 edition of the Rate Watch video. I'm happy this morning. The sun is shining, and for the first time in over a year, I'm happy to announce no change to the Bank of Canada overnight lending rate. Let's dive right in for further analysis. In their January meeting, the Bank of Canada already set expectations that they would consider a conditional pause to the overnight lending rate. So today's announcement of no change widely met expectations. In their press release, they noted that the economic developments here at home and in the wider context of the US and Europe are unfolding as expected. Of note, they talked a lot about the declining inflation that we've seen that has been driven by a decline of energy cost. And if you'll recall, in January, the inflation numbers came in beating expectations at 5.9%. However, core inflation, which strips out some of the more volatile items in the basket of goods, remains very elevated and has the Bank of Canada a little bit concerned, and ideally, they'd like to see that number come down. At the moment, the biggest risk that is developing, and they put one short little sentence, it was almost an add-on and innocuous in their press release, is a strengthening US dollar. And a strengthening US dollar compared to a Canadian dollar is inflationary, because as the Canadian dollar comes down in value, we of course import a lot of our goods from the US. And then if the Canadian dollar is lower, it then costs more for us to bring in those goods and services. So that's something that the Bank of Canada will have to pay attention to. There is a divergence in policy right now where the Bank of Canada is holding interest rates and we have declining inflation, whereas in the US, inflation is still rising and interest rates are still rising. And as that happens, there will be a strengthening US dollar. And that's not good for us here in Canada. So I think that's one of the biggest risks that still remain regarding interest rates and what will happen over the next few months. Overall, today's announcement is positive. And although it's a conditional hold and the Bank of Canada does use very strong language that they will not be afraid of raising interest rates further given circumstances, it's a step in the right direction. It may be the inflection point that we've been waiting for. There's still a lot of risk in the system, but overall, a step in the right direction is how I would characterize today's meeting. My name is Christopher Mulder. I am a Toronto mortgage broker. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm just a phone call or an email away. Until next time, bye for now.